In September 2020, the Air Force revealed it had designed, built, and flown a fighter jet for the Next Generation Air Dominance, or NGAD program, in the astonishing span of just 1 year. The U.S. Air Force announced it has already flown a new prototype fighter. While the U.S. military's fifth-generation F-35 Joint Strike Fighter jets are still rolling off the production line and deploying across the globe, work has already begun on a futuristic sixth-generation fighter, an aircraft that may have increased stealth, drone companions, boosted artificial intelligence, and even the ability to heal itself when damaged. Most observers did not expect a new fighter for another decade. The fighter, about which we know virtually nothing, has already flown and broken records. In September 2020, Will Roper, the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, shocked the world when he revealed the surprise existence of the service's new, mysterious Next Generation Air Dominance NGAD fighter. The U.S. Air Force's secret new fighter jet, which is designed, built, and tested in just 1 year, will feature some kind of artificial intelligence co-pilot, a trusted computer algorithm that human pilots can rely on to assume critical tasks in the air. A few clues about NGAD have trickled out since the initial announcement, such as which defense contractor likely built the plane. The NGAD will have an AI-assisted co-pilot, maybe even R2. That's the call sign, aka R2, that Roper and his team used to train the world-leading computer program Nano Zero to operate a U-2 spy plane in September 2020 in California, marking the first time AI has controlled a U.S. military system. An AI-assisted co-pilot could take on relatively simple tasks, such as communications, monitoring for threats, network security, and navigation. R2 Nano, which took over and tied together a U-2's navigation and sensors to search for missile launchers, is seemingly on the more advanced end of the AI cockpit buddy spectrum. Meanwhile, a human pilot could concentrate on tasks reserved for humans, such as flying the plane, authorized weapons releases, approving changes to flight plans, and communicating with other humans at home base, in the air, and on the ground. The AI could even free the pilot to use the most important tool available to the human mind, an imagination, to look at a developing situation and turn it to his or her advantage. R2 Nano is used to operate Lockheed Martin's U-2 spy plane radar system using Nano Zero gaming algorithms, a leading computer program that has been used to beat human players in chess, Go, and video games. R2 Nano successfully flew aboard a U-2 Dragon Lady for the first time in Department of Defense history during a reconnaissance training mission conducted out of Beale Air Force Base in California on December 15th. During the mission, it was responsible for sensor employment and tactical navigation during a simulated missile strike in order to find enemy launchers. The human U-2 pilot concentrated on finding the enemy aircraft and shared the use of the radar with the AI co-pilot, who manipulated the sensor using insight previously learned from over 500,000 computer-simulated training iterations. While R2 Nano was designed to take the workload off of U-2 pilots, the technology can easily be transferred to systems for other combat planes. Air Combat Command's U-2 Federal Laboratory researchers developed R2 Nano and trained it to execute specific in-flight tasks that otherwise would be done by the pilot. Putting AI safely in command of a U.S. military system for the first time ushers in a new age of human-machine teaming and algorithmic competition. The so-called Next Generation Air Dominance NGAD fighter would be a follow-on to the Lockheed Martin F-22 stealth jet, which is a fifth-generation fighter. Yet instead of just one fighter, the Air Force envisions a system of systems that includes piloted and unmanned aircraft. Lockheed Martin and the Boeing Corporation are working on concepts for a sixth-generation fighter, but the Air Force hasn't picked a contractor for it or even officially started a competition. Meanwhile, requirements for a future sixth-generation fighter aren't clear yet either. The NGAD has come so far that the full-scale flight demonstrator has already flown in the physical world. It's broken a lot of records. There are some technological advances many have come to expect out of a fighter that would earn the sixth-generation distinction. In order to truly be a sixth-generation fighter, most, if not all, of these attributes will likely have to be present. However, it pays to remember that while the F-22 served as the world's first fighter of its ilk, not all of its capabilities have to be matched by competitors to qualify. Sixth-generation fighters are expected to utilize modular designs to some degree, meaning the aircraft itself will be designed to allow for components to be removed and easily replaced with better ones. This will not only increase the lifespan of each aircraft, it will allow for the rapid deployment of more advanced sensors, avionics, and weapon systems than ever before. Optionally manned. Today, drones play a vital role in America's approach to warfare. But for the most part, these drones conduct fairly simple operations, like airstrikes in uncontested airspace. As efforts continue to blend artificial intelligence pilots with real ones, it stands to reason that the sixth generation of fighters will be so capable on their own that they'll be able to fly some missions without a pilot. Of course, that isn't because pilots are headed the way of the dodo. Pilots will always be an essential part of air warfare, or at least for decades to come. But tasking a pilotless aircraft with monotonous or highly dangerous work can not only free up manpower, it can save lives. Drone swarms. In keeping with the optionally manned premise, sixth-generation fighters will likely serve as a data hub that manages a swarm of drone wingmen. With programs like Boeing's Loyal Wingman looking to develop and field drones for this distinct purpose, and highly capable but cost-effective actionable platforms like the Kratos Valkyrie currently in testing, it seems likely that the next wave of fighters will be designed to work in concert with these unmanned platforms. Data fusion and heads-up displays. The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter is widely considered to offer the most battlefield situational awareness of any fighter platform in history. That's largely thanks to a combination of data fusion capabilities and integrated heads-up displays. The F-35 can gather information from a whole slew of airborne and ground sensors, marry their disparate feeds, and spit out a display on the pilot's cockpit instrumentation and augmented reality helmet that makes fighting in real life a whole lot like playing a high-stakes video game. The next generation of fighters will likely not only make this capability universal, they'll build on these traits, creating an even more powerful quarterback in the sky. A power surplus. Along with its competitors, the U.S. military is already beginning to field directed energy weapons, and America's newest supercarrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was even designed to produce more power than it needs solely to support directed energy weapons developed in the future. Fighters of the sixth generation will almost certainly have to follow suit. In order to support weapons that haven't even been invented yet, sixth generation fighters will have to produce more power than they need. That way, when it comes time to swap out weapon components, the modular design will make the swap easy, and the power surplus will make them work. Weapons with more range than ever before. Many of these predicted capabilities work in conjunction with one another to offer a jump in performance, and nowhere is that more apparent than when discussing the range in which sixth-generation fighters will be able to engage the enemy. By leveraging drones as forward observers, targeting data will be relayed back to sixth-generation fighters, who can launch attacks against those far-off enemies using the drone's eyes as its own. The Marine Corps has already demonstrated the ability to relay targeting data from an F-35 to a nearby M142 HIMARS artillery rocket system, which was then able to engage the opponent on the F-35's behalf. This capability will become increasingly commonplace in the years to come, as ground and other air assets begin to serve as magazines for stealthy, data-fusing aircraft. Sixth-generation fighters will be expected to operate in highly contested areas that could even make F-35 and F-22 pilots sweat, and as such, they'll have to be highly survivable. That means leveraging stealth and electronic warfare capabilities to limit engagement, and likely leveraging technology like the Navy's laser-induced plasma filament holograms to trick air defense systems and inbound infrared-seeking missiles. This is just one form of integrated self-protection that sixth-generation fighters will likely carry into the fight as air defenses grow more capable and aircraft adapt to a new battlefield. What stealth characteristics we might see on a sixth-gen platform? The traditional pattern of air-to-air combat. That means that frontal stealth is most important for a fighter. You might be using your fighter to penetrate enemy airspace for a strike mission, in which case, all aspects stealth would be nice, but it's not the priority, right? The priority is being seen second, so you get your first shot, and you get to kill the other person before they kill you. Now, when it comes to penetrating stealth, like for example in the B-21, the follow-on to the B-2 bomber, all aspect stealth is far more important because this is not a plane that'll be shooting at other planes. That's a plane that would be penetrating into the airspace to, take out some high-value target. But with fighters, stealth, low observability. That's more frontal, and it means being seen second, and it can show up in terms of the shape of the airframe. It can show up in terms of emissions. There are many different metrics by which we gauge stealth. The Air Force has not revealed much about the mysterious aircraft, presumably to avoid tipping its hand to China and Russia, but did exclusively that the plane uses F-1 style engineering. When do you think we'll see the Air Force's secret new fighter jet?